Welcome back, guys. In this video we're going to be covering printing in depth. So the first thing we're going to cover is Println and print. Println stands for Println, and we've been using Println in the previous videos. So as you can see, we have some code right here that prints two messages using Println. I'm going to go ahead and run the code, and as expected, the two messages were printed on two separate lines. Notice that each message is on a new line. That's because Println prints the given text and then automatically adds a new line after. But we also have print, and unlike Println, print does not automatically add a new line after it prints. So let's try using print instead of Println. I'm going to go ahead and replace Println with print in these two lines of code. So I'm just going to delete Println here and just type in print. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this line. Now let's run the code again. And as you can see, the two messages were printed on the same line. But we can actually use print to print new lines. All we have to do is put \n where we want our new line. So let's put \n at the end of our two messages. So I'm just going to type \n right here, and I'm also going to type it right here. Now let's run the code. And as you can see, we have new lines. This code actually functions exactly the same as when we were using Println. The only difference is that we manually added the new lines. We can also add multiple new lines. So I'm going to put another \n right here at the end of our first message. Now I'm going to run the code. And as you can see, two new lines were printed here instead of one. \ is used to escape characters, and we can use it for multiple things other than creating new lines. If we want to include a quotation mark in our printed string, we need to put a \ before the quotation mark. So let's put our first message in quotation marks. So I'm just going to put \quotation mark right here, and I'm also going to put \quotation mark right here. Now let's run the code again, and as you can see, message 1 is now in double quotation mark. We can also use \t to represent a tab's width. So let's put \t right here at the start of our second message. Now let's run the code. And as you can see, a tab's width was printed before the second message. Now I'm going to show you guys print formatted. As you guys can see, I have some code right here where we've declared a day and temp variable. The code prints a sentence using the two variables. Here we're using commas in our Println statement. I briefly told you guys in the last video that we can use commas to print multiple values using one Println. So let's run the code. And as you can see, it printed out it was 20 degrees on Monday. This code works fine, but we can also do this using Printf. Printf stands for print formatted and gives us more control over how we want our values to be formatted. Let me show you guys. So let's delete this line of code right here and use printf instead. So to use printf, I'm just going to type fmt.printf. It was %v degrees on %v. Then I'm going to put a comma right here, then put temp, comma day, just like this. So what this line of code is going to do is put the variable's values where the %v's are. And the order of the variables matter here, since the first variable will go to the first %v and the second variable will go to the second %v. Now I'm going to run the code, and as you can see, it works just as before. So v is a formatting verb, and to use a formatting verb in printf, you have to put a % before it, just like how we have % and then v in our code right here. And formatting verbs allow us to specify how we want the values to be formatted. V just prints the value in its default form. I'm going to show you some of the most commonly used formatting verbs. First, we're going to look at the formatting verb s. S is similar to v, except it can only be used for strings. So let's go ahead and replace %v right here with %s. And we can do this because our day variable is a string. Now let's run the code, and as you can see, it works just as before. We can also use %q for strings. And %q just prints the string between two quotation marks. So let's replace %s right here with %q, just like this. Now let's run the code again, and as you can see, it printed the day between quotation marks. We also have the formatting verb d. D is similar to v but can only be used for integers. So let's replace where we have %v for our temperature right here with %d. Now let's run the code, and as you can see, it works just like before. Next, we have the formatting verb f. F can only be used for floats, so I'm going to change our temperature to a float by adding some decimals to it. So where we have 20, I'm just going to put 20.127. And now I'm going to replace where we have %d right here with %f, just like this. Now let's run the code, and as you can see, the float was printed to the console. We can also use the verb v for floats, but when using f, we can also specify how many decimals we want to be printed. Let's say we only want the first two decimal places printed. I can just put 0.2 before f right here. Now let's run the code. And as you can see, only the first two decimal places were printed. We can put any number instead of 2, and that's how many decimal places will be printed. Now I'm going to show you guys the formatting verb t. T is similar to v but can only be used for booleans. So as you can see, I have some simple code right here that uses t to print the value in our bool. So let's just run the code. And as you can see, true was printed out where the %t was, since our isSunny variable is equal to true. I just showed you the formatting verb common T, but we also have the formatting verb capital T. And capital T is actually really cool. Instead of printing out the variable's value, it prints out the variable's type. So as you can see, I have a printf statement right here that prints the fave color variable is a %T. Then we have comma fave color. Now let's run the code. And as you can see, it says the fave color variable is a string since it prints out fave color's type instead of its value. The last formatting verb we're going to be covering is double %sign. Double %sign allows us to print percentage signs using printf. So as you can see, we have some code right here that uses printf to print a %sign. So let's run the code. And as you can see, it printed missing. This is because Go is expecting a formatting verb after the %sign, but there's none. So now let's replace the %sign with double %sign. So I'm just going to add another %sign right here. Now let's run the code, and as you can see, a %sign is printed correctly. The last thing I'm going to show you guys in this video is Sprintf. Sprintf stands for string print formatted. Sprintf is similar to printf, but Sprintf doesn't output the value to the console. Instead, we can use Sprintf to store the value for later use. So as you can see, we have some code here that uses printf to print a sentence using our name and fave color variable. Let's say instead of printing the message, we wanted to save it into a variable. So let's delete printf right here and type in sprintf. Now before fmt.sprintf, let's type sentence. Then let's put a colon and then an equal sign. So what this code is going to do is save the formatted result into the sentence variable instead of printing it directly to the screen. Now let's print our sentence variable twice. So I'm going to type fmt.println sentence. And I'm just going to copy this and paste it down here since we want to print our sentence twice. Now let's run the code. And as you can see, our formatted message was printed twice since it was saved in our sentence variable. So Sprintf starts with the letter S, and so does subscribe. I'd really appreciate if you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos.